Hello students, I am Pushprata Miss. Welcome to my channel. I hope you all are safe at home. Stay home and stay safe. Today our topic is early Vedic period and later Vedic period. Okay, let us start early Vedic period. The Rig Veda is the main source of information that we have about the early Vedic period. Mention of rivers and places of the north region confirms that during this period, people occupied areas around eastern Afghanistan, The rivers Swat and Kabul are repeatedly mentioned in the Rig Veda. Punjab, Delhi, and some parts of western Uttar Pradesh, Indus and its tributaries, Gomati, are often repeated in the text. Okay. What about social life? The early Vedic society was tribal and egalitarian, based on the belief that all men are equal. Even though the society was generally egalitarian, some amount of differences crept in on the basis of occupations. The priests and the chieftains somehow got more importance than the common people, though it was not meant to be so. Patriarchal society. The society was patriarchal, which means that each family was headed by the man of the family, who was known as the Grihapati. They practiced monogamy and were very broad in their outlook. Women were given the same rights as men. They could participate in religious functions, were allowed to study, could choose their own husbands. Widows could remarry, and child marriage was uncommon. Okay. Next, occupation. The society was divided into 4 different varnas on the basis of occupation: the Brahmins, the Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas, and the Shudras. Though these were based on a person's occupation, in reality it defined social position of people. Okay, the Brahmins were the priestly class who helped the people perform rituals, etc. Means they will do the pujas, yagnas, etc. The Kshatriyas were kings and warriors who protected the tribe from enemies, and the Vaishyas were traders and merchants, and the Shudras were menial workers. First one, the Varna system. Okay, it was open system and was not bound by blood. This means that a person could change his Varna depending upon the occupation he chose for himself. So, a Brahmin's son could be a Vaishya and vice versa. Few hymns of the Rig Veda indicate that members of one family could choose different occupations. For example, this line from the Rig Veda, "I am a poet, my father is a physician, and my mother is a grinder of corn," proves so. Means the men have the right to choose their occupation himself. Means as he likes. Okay. Then it was quite possible that only the Brahmins or Kshatriyas changed occupations among themselves, but not with Vaishya and Shudras. Along with these, there were also dasas or dasyus, a term which in the beginning was referred to an opponent but later was used for slaves. Dasas and dasis means slaves. Daily life. Okay. The diet of the people comprised cereals, fruits, meat, milk and milk products. They also consumed some sort of an intoxicating drink called soma, which was extracted from a particular plant. Mostly they consumed soma during religious ceremonies. They wore either cotton or woolen two-piece clothes. One was wrapped around the waist and the upper garment around the shoulders. Both men and women also wore jewelry such as bangles, earrings, etc. Okay. Then what about games and games as recreation? The early Vedic people also spent a good amount of time in recreation. means chariot racing, hunting, and horse racing being their most favored pastimes. Dice game was also popular among them. The hymns also confirmed that music was known to them and they also had knowledge of the flute and the drums. Okay, next, what about the political life? The society was divided into groups or tribes called Jana. Okay, each tribe had a king called Rajan who was elected by a group of people for his bravery, intelligence, and other qualities. Kingship was not always hereditary, which means that a king's son did not automatically become a king in all cases. The position of the king had to be on. Rajan was the most important man of the tribe. Okay. Next, Raj Purohit, leader of the king's council. Just after the Rajan were the Purohits or the priests who helped the king and the other members of the tribe perform various rituals and sacrifices. The Senanis, warriors, and chieftains aided the king during times of war and other military campaigns. Next, voluntary contribution to the kingdom. The most important function of the king was to protect his tribe from enemies and also to take care of their requirements, so that the kings did not collect taxes but managed their kingdom on voluntary contributions made by members of the tribe. The king did not take important decisions alone but was helped by assemblies known as the Sabha and the Samiti. Both men and women could be members of these assemblies. Okay. Next, economic life. In the early days, people led a nomadic life, wandering from one place to another in search of food. As time passed, they started settling in different places, growing crops and rearing cattle. Wheat, barley, and cotton were the main crops that they grew. Some hymns of the Rig Veda confirm that the early Vedic people had the knowledge of seasons and the effects of different seasons on different crops. Aryans, long before the Vedic period, domesticated animals. The early Vedic people domesticated many animals such as horses, sheep, goats, bulls, dogs, oxen, etc. But the most important of them all was the cow. Cows were not only considered sacred but are also the main form of wealth. So much that many a war were fought for cows. The number of cows a person possessed evaluated his honor. The animal was also used for barter purposes to exchange goods. Though agriculture and cattle breeding were predominantly the main source of income, the Rig Veda also tells about various other professions and people such as chariot makers, potters, weavers, carpenters, tanners, jewelers, etc., confirming that different means were followed in order to earn a living. Among us, these chariot makers were given special importance because it was used for recreational purposes as well as battles. Okay, next, religious life. The King Veda has hymns on Agni, god of fire, Indra, god of rain, Varuna, god of wind, Surya, the sun god, Soma, god of plants, Prithvi, god of earth, Yama, god of death, and many others. Since they did not quite understand many natural phenomena such as rains, thunder, etc., they looked up to them as divine beings and worshipped them by reciting prayers, and hymns. They also performed yagnas to appease these divine beings. But they did not have any temples and did not believe in idol worshipping. Their form of worshipping was primarily chanting hymns and sacrificial rituals, which they used to perform from time to time. Okay, next is later Vedic period. As time passed, people and practices changed. The life and times of the later Vedic people are discussed in the Yajurveda, Samaveda, and Atharvaveda. It was during the later Vedic period that the Brahmanas, the Aranyakas, the Upanishads, and the Ramayana and the Mahabharata were composed. Okay. Then what about later Vedic period social life? During the later Vedic period, the society saw a sharp change. The family was still the basic unit of the society, but the status of women fell. They now enjoyed fewer rights and were supposed to do all the household chores, obey their husbands, and take care of the family. Okay. Next, occupation. The Varna system was no more an open system but a closed system. This means that a person's Varna was not decided by his occupation anymore but by his birth. So a Brahmin son would be a Brahmin even if he was more inclined towards trading. The social status of Brahmins and Kshatriyas improved in comparison to Vaishya and Shudras. Okay. Next, the concept of ashramas. It was during this period that the concept of ashramas was introduced, according to which every man had to pass through the 4 ashramas or phases in his life. Okay, the first was Brahmacharya or student life, during which a man was supposed to study the Vedas and obtain knowledge. The second stage was Grihastha, where he was supposed to marry, produce kids, and lead a family life. The next stage was Vanaprastha, where a man was supposed to offer his services to others and be of help to mankind. The last stage was Sannyasa, where a man was supposed to renounce the world and retire to the forest to live a life free of relations and bonding, only meditating. Okay. Next, education. Education system was also quite distinctive at this time, since the students or shishyas used to live at their teacher's or guru's house, thereby calling it a gurukul. Besides learning their lessons, the students were also expected to do the household chores for their gurus, including cooking, cleaning, collecting firewood, etc. Okay. Next, no concept of fees. In return for the teachings they would get, the students were supposed to give some specific offerings and not money, which was called Guru Dakshina. Okay. This education was limited to only the males of Brahmin, Kshatriya, and Vaishya caste. The Shudras and the females were not allowed any kind of formal education. Education was limited to a single teacher's capability. The subjects that were taught in the Gurukul were logic, philosophy, religion, astronomy, grammar, ethics, and medicine. Young boys from royal families were also taught fine battle skills and politics, along with proper discipline and a code of conduct. Okay, next is political life. During the later Vedic period, people started moving eastwards towards the Ganga Yamuna Dow, often fighting battles with the natives of the places they crossed or settled in. The increase in wars and battles automatically improved the position of the king, who suddenly became all-powerful. Bali was no more voluntary but was collected forcibly from the people by the Sangri Pitra, the other who collected taxes from the people on behalf of the king. Next, Yajna, a tool for conquest. The king further strengthened his position by performing various yajna and sacrifices such as the Ashwamedha, the Rajasuya, and the Vajpaya. The Rajasuya yajna was performed by the kings, as it was believed that it conferred supreme power on the king. In the Ashwamedha yajna, the king's horse was let loose to roam around in the neighboring kingdoms, while the king claimed control and on all the kingdoms crossed by the horse unchallenged. When the horse got back to its kingdom, it was killed in a special ceremony as an offering to the gods, The Vajpaya was a chariot race between the king and his subjects, where the king's chariot always won. During this period, the importance of the Sabha and the Samiti were reduced, and the position of the women in the society also saw a downfall, as women were no longer allowed to participate in the Sabha. Okay, next, economic life. A lot is known about the later Vedic period not only through the Vedas but also through the findings from the excavation of sites such as Hastinapura, Kaushambi and Atranjikera. Painted grave grey color pottery with black and red geometric designs were found from various sites. Agriculture still was their main source of livelihood, though cattle rearing did see a decline in the later Vedic period. Okay. Next is metal craft. Iron was the most important discovery during this period, and people started using iron tools and implements for their tasks. Iron smiths started producing weapons such as arrowheads and spearheads along with regular tools. Coppersmiths also produced weapons as well as ornaments. Other professions of the early Vedic age such as weaving, leather work, carpentry, chariot making, etc. also thrived during the later Vedic period. Next, jewelry has in fashion too. Since money was unknown to them, it is believed that they either used barter system or products such as nishka, means necklace, and krishnala, a small metal object which had the same value as money. The Vedas also talk about the seas and the sea voyage, suggesting that the people indulged in trade during this period, though people were bad to go into sea. Okay, next is religious life. The religious life of the people of the later Vedic period also saw a sharp change. Brahma or Prajapati, the creator, Vishnu, the preserver, and Shiva or Rudra, the destroyer, became the three powerful gods, while the gods of natural elements were not worshipped now as much. Some other gods such as Pushan were also worshipped, who was initially believed to be a preserver of cattle but later became the god of the Shudras. Lastly, sacrifices, karma and moksha. Chanting of hymns and recitation of prayers saw a bit of decline, while sacrifices, yajnas and other rituals became important. The Brahmins would sacrifice animals to appease the gods, on behalf of the kings. In return, they were paid dakshina in the form of clothes, cow, gold, etc. All this gave an idea that religion completely changed its earlier form and became an expensive and complicated affair by this time. But along with this change, an inclination towards spiritual enlightenment was also taking shape, as philosophical ideas where importance on karma and moksha were began to be popular. They also believed in the concept of an afterlife. Okay, students, all of you read this lesson properly. Okay, thank you.